Hola, bienvenidos. Welcome to Capítulo 2, Chapter 2 of Spanish for Children. Today we are going to talk a little bit more about verbs. Now last week we said a number of things about verbs. One of them was that you start with an infinitive form of the verb. It's the first form that you memorize in your vocabulario. So this week you memorized 5 more verbs: usar, visitar, preparar, llamar, and trabajar, right? We're going to start with llamar. We're going to work with that one today. I like it a lot. To call. Llamar. Now, llamar, AR on the end, that means it's our basic form of the verb. It's like the bowl of spaghetti with no extra seasonings or anything. We don't really know who's doing the action. Nobody's really doing the action, and it's not really happening. It's just the idea of to call, right? So, what we are going to do today is something called the chop and switch. Here's how it works. Imagine that your verb's kind of like a flour. I know, first it was a bowl of spaghetti, now it's a flour. Just go with me on this. So here's our little flour. And the AR is like the top of the flower. The petals, the pistil, the stamen, whatever's in a flower. And then the rest of the verb, that's like the stem. So our infinitive of our verb, now it's like a flower. If we want to say who's doing the action of the verb and do the chop and switch, here's what we do. Ready? Chop. I'm going to do that in red so you can see it even better. Hi-ya! Chop. So we chop off the top of the flower. Your mom's going to love it if you give her a flower with the top chopped off. But a verb with the AR chopped off, not too bad, because that gives us our verb stem. The yam. L-L-A-M. Yam. What we do is we take our stem of our verb, get rid of the AR, and then we add different endings to show who's doing the action. Now, how do you know what ending to add? This, let me tell you, is going to be a question you ask yourself many times over the course of your studying Spanish. Let's talk about the possible endings of verbs. Now, we said that your verb is like, let's go back to the bowl of spaghetti. It's just plain spaghetti. There's 3 possible things you could add to your verb: person, number, and tense. Let's start with talking about adding person. In languages, we have first person, second person, and third person. And you'll see, when you study any language that was based in Latin, you get these little charts they have 2 columns, 1, 2, and 3 rows, 1, 2, 3. The reason is because of person, number, and tense, and here's why. We put person over here. Person. The first kind of person we have is called first person. It's when a person talks about themselves. If I want to say, I call, I'm going to be first person because I'm talking about myself. Now, this can be a little funky because it's a way that we talk about words. And sometimes when you're just learning about the world in general, it's hard to start talking about words because you use them, you don't talk about them. So if this feels a little funny for your brain, just tell your brain, just pay attention, listen, try and memorize, try and understand, but if you don't get it, it's okay. As long as you can remember that you need to use this chart, that's okay. If person doesn't totally make sense, that's right. I've been doing this for years, and sometimes I still think person doesn't make sense sometimes. Just because it's a way to talk about words, and that can be a little confusing. So let's go back to this, though. First person is me. I am doing the action. I'm talking about myself. I'm the first person. I'm the closest one to me. I am me. You are the second person because you're the second degree away, right? You, right there, you. You are second person. Now, if you were talking, you would say, I call my mother. Yo llamo a mi madre. Then you would be first person. And if you were talking to me, then I could be second person. See, I told you it was a little tricky. So when somebody's talking and they say, I do the action, they're first person. If I say you do the action, you're second person. last kind of person, I bet you can guess what it is. Third person. Third person is for somebody else. Could be my dog, could be Larry next door, could be Glinda down the street. It's just somebody else. Not me, not you, them. Right? So that's third person. So we make our verb charts, or our charts that have to do with verbs, with first person, second person, and third person. That's person. Who's doing the action? Is it me? Is it you? Is it them? I don't know. We'll find out. The next thing that we do with our verbs is number. Number. That's a little easier than person. Number is just how many people are doing the action. Say Bob down the street is going to have a barbecue. He gets some burgers, but he doesn't want to eat them by himself, so what's he do? He's third person. It's him down the street. We're talking about him saying he, him, not you or I. He and him. He's going to have a barbecue. He's a third person singular. He's all by himself. All by his lonesome, he's going to have this barbecue. He is singular, just one. But that's not going to be a very good barbecue. So he calls Larry next door and says, "Hey Larry, come on over to my barbecue." So Larry comes on down to his barbecue. That makes more than one person. That's plural. Plural means more than one. Say Larry brings his kids, Margaret, Janet, whatever. They come too. It's still just plural. We just divide it by one and more than one. We don't have to worry about how many more than one. That's third person. We're still talking about them over there. Third person plural. Or say I have to go to the store to buy ice cream. I have to go to the store to buy ice cream. I am just one person. I'm first person because I'm talking about me, and I'm singular. But I really like you. You've been learning a lot of Spanish the past couple weeks. You can come along too. You are second person. So it's one first person, a first person singular, plus a second person singular. Well, 1 plus 1 makes 2 people. That puts it plural. Because I am still doing the action, I am going plus you going, that makes we. We, because I am still involved, is first person plural. If you want to get a second person plural, that would be like if you are going out the door to go play in the fall leaves, and you are bringing your teddy bear, and you and your teddy bear don't have coats on, and I say, "Hey, you guys, you and you." That's 2 yous. So 2 second person singulars makes a second person plural. Make sense? Great. So let's go back to that chop and switch. When you want to say that somebody is doing the action, you can now choose person and number. Who's doing it and how many people are doing it. But we said there's 3 things you can do when you do the chop and switch. 3 aspects to the verb that you can change. Person, number, and tense. Well, we don't have to worry about tense right yet. We're working in the present tense. All of these endings are present tense endings. Later in the book, we'll do past tense for things that happen in the past and future tense for things that will happen in the future. But for now, we're just working on present tense, things that are happening right now. Tense is time, the time that an action's happening. And we're just worrying about the things that are happening right now. So, let's go back to our verb llamar. I'm going to say, I call my mom. I call my mom. I've got my verb stem, like my flower stem, yam, and I'm just one person, so it's going to be singular, and I'm first person, so it's singular first person. I stick the ending, llamo. Llamo, yo llamo a mi mamá. I call my mom. How about you call your grandma? Well, I go back to my stem. You, second person singular, llamas. You call your grandma. Tú llamas a tu abuela. How about they, my neighbors down the street, order pizza? They call for pizza. Well, my neighbors, that's more than one, so I'm going to look in my plural column, And it's not me and it's not you, so it means it's them, so it's third person. They, llaman. They call for pizza. Llaman para la pizza. Oops. Dropped my eraser. So, by the way, my eraser is not me and it's not you, which makes it an it. It's not me, not first person, not you, not second person. So if I want to say my eraser fell, I would use third person to talk about my eraser, and I would use singular because it's just one. Let's talk about this week's conversation section. ¿Cómo te llamas? This is a great saying in Spanish. It means what's your name? But it doesn't really mean that exactly. ¿Cómo te llamas? We put our double question marks. ¿Cómo te llamas? Well, let's look at this ending. We've got the AS, second person singular, you call. So I want to ask you, right there, you. You. I want to ask you, what's your name? ¿Cómo te llamas? I've taken my stem of my verb, I've put on my second person singular ending, and now I say, how do you call yourself? It's a little weird. Llamas, you call. Te, yourself. You call yourself. ¿Cómo te llamas? How do you call yourself? What's your name for yourself? That's how you ask what's your name in Spanish. There's another question for it, like, exactly. ¿Cuál es tu nombre? Which one is your name? What is your name? But people generally say, ¿Cómo te llamas? And if I'm asking you, I'll say, llamas. I'll use my second person singular. If I wanted to ask, how are all of you guys, how are all of you guys called? What are all of your names? You and your dog and your mom and your dad over there. I would say, llamáis. Second person, plural, because there's more. And if I want to ask about that guy over there, I would say, llama. The te would change too, but we'll talk about that later in the book. For now, remember that verbs have person, number, and tense. And when you want to use a verb, you start with your infinitive. You do the chop to get your stem, and then you switch up your endings. You do the chop and switch. That's all for this capítulo. Adios.